Navigating the holidays can be a challenge between holiday parties, family dinners, social events. The food and drinks are everywhere. This can leave us feeling super stressed, guilty, lethargic, and dreading the reality check come January 1st. I've created a checklist for you guys to go along with this video that will really help you to put into practice some of the things that we talk about today and go into the holidays feeling good this year. So make sure to grab that at the end of this video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lindsay, a registered dietitian, and I am dedicated to making food feel good. So on this channel, I share simple recipes, tips to help you save time and stress in the kitchen with meal prep and meal planning. And I also want to support a feel-good relationship with food. So intuitive eating, mindful eating, lots of tips to help you out there. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can stay in the loop and you don't miss a video. So what is mindfulness and mindful eating, and how can it help us through the holidays? So it's a bit of a buzzy word right now, but I am all about it. Basically, mindfulness is, to put it simply, awareness without judgment. So when it comes to our eating, what it means is tuning in and actually listening to our body, getting out of our heads a little bit so that we can sort of honor what truly feels good and get rid of that guilt and that shame that's often associated with food. By learning to tune in and understand how to actually listen to our bodies, it becomes a lot easier to navigate the shoulds and shouldn'ts, all of those food rules and the mental acrobatics that can often accompany all of the decisions that we make every day about food. So diving right into it, tip number one, don't save your calories. Don't do it. So what I mean by this is often we're tempted to modify the way that we eat from our regular eating habits when we know that there's a big event coming up or over the holiday season. But what this does is it's gonna set us up for disaster. So I talk a lot more about this in another video that I created about cravings. I'll link that up in the cards if you want a little deeper dive. But basically what happens when we get hungry, when we go long periods without eating, if we don't eat enough during the day, physiologically, our body is going to respond by craving sugar, by craving high-fat, high-processed foods. So when we get to those parties, we actually sort of shut off the ability to listen to our body or to follow sort of our intrinsic hunger and fullness cues, so our body is screaming at us like, give me some energy, give me some fuel. So when there's endless food and drink options around there, it's actually gonna do the opposite of supporting mindfulness, and it's really gonna make you quite mindless because you're just gonna be in that sort of survival mode almost. So at that point, we're not even looking at what appeals to us, we're not really paying attention to what tastes good, and we're a lot more likely to overeat or eat past a point that's even comfortable for us. So what can you do? Don't throw all of your regular eating habits aside. You still want to eat regularly throughout the day, including your breakfast, your lunch, and probably a snack before you go. So you might choose to add an extra cup of veggies with your lunch or throw an extra handful of greens into your smoothie. Really pack in those energizing, high fiber foods. But what you don't want to do is resort to eating rabbit food, you know, a couple limp leaves of lettuce for lunch. If you are gonna have a salad, make sure that it's balanced with some avocado for some healthy fat, some protein in there. You still want that to look like a normal meal. The next thing I recommend is to have a snack before you head out to the party. So the point here isn't to stuff yourself. You don't wanna fill up so that you don't eat. You still wanna go there and enjoy, but have a snack, something with some protein and some fiber. So that might be like an apple with some almonds or a small piece of cheese, or maybe some whole grain crackers with some edamame dip or hummus. But fuel yourself again so that you're not starving once you get there and can actually allow yourself to tune into that mindfulness when you are at the party. The next thing that you can do here is to familiarize yourself with your hunger and fullness cues. So a lot of us recognize being extremely hungry, what that feels like, that growling stomach. We're constantly thinking about food. And we also know that feeling of extreme fullness, you know, almost uncomfortable fullness. But a lot of us aren't in touch with what it feels like as that hunger starts to build or as we get hungrier. So there is a great tool called a hunger meter that you can Google, and it will help you to just understand your hunger fullness cues, get a little bit more familiar with them so that you do know how much do you want to eat before you go, still leaving room to enjoy all of the delicious foods when you're there. Tip number two is don't put these holiday foods on a pedestal. So often we go into this Last Supper mentality, whether it's before starting a diet or going into the holidays, of feeling like it's our only chance to eat that food. You know, these foods are only available during the holidays, or I'm never gonna be able to eat them again once I start my diet. So just remember, these foods are actually available all year round, and if they're not, you can always make them, right? If it's your mom's favorite or famous casserole or your grandma's pie that you really enjoy, you have permission to eat those foods all year round, and remind yourself of that. So again, when we give ourselves permission to eat these food and take away the guilt associated with that, it actually changes the way that we look at them, and again, encourages mindfulness because it gives us the ability to check in and listen. Are we still enjoying it? Are we done with this food without that fear that we won't get the opportunity to eat it and enjoy it again? Tip number 3 is to play the field. Check out your options when you get there. So often when we get into a situation like that, there's lots of stimulation, there's lots of people to talk to. We're kind of mindless from the minute that we step in and just start filling up our plate. So take a little bit of time to scan the room, see what foods are there, what drinks are there, what you really love. And by doing this, you're already starting the mindfulness process. You're already starting that sensory experience of eating with your eyes, right? So a big part of eating and enjoying food is what we see. So noticing those favorite foods, you're building that anticipation of what it's going to taste like and enjoy. And when you do sit down to eat it, your plate's going to be full of foods that you love. You're going to have started that process of mindful eating and be a lot more likely to leave feeling like you enjoyed your favorite foods. You don't have any regrets about missing out on anything, but also be able to kind of stop when you're satisfied or full. I do want to mention something on that whole line of fullness though. It actually is normal to eat past the point of fullness sometimes, especially when we are at these special events or, during the holidays. Sometimes we're going to eat more than we normally would in a regular day. We're feeling a little bit more full. That's okay, but all of this mindfulness helps you to tune in and listen to, how it makes you feel, and just sort of stop at a point that's right for you. Tip number 4 is to ground yourself and tune in. So although I'm encouraging mindfulness here, mindfulness is a great thing, not every bite has to be mindful. So a lot of the experience of enjoying a holiday meal, or maybe that's even just a brunch or a family dinner, or even your day-to-day dinners, part of that experience is the conversation, the atmosphere. All of that contributes to the eating experience. So like I said, although we want to check in and have mindful moments, we don't need that extra pressure of feeling like every single bite has to be mindful and tuned in. So a big part of these special dinners, whether they're holiday dinners or a brunch, a family dinner, or even just your day-to-day meals that you eat at home, part of being mindful is enjoying the conversation, enjoying the atmosphere, and not putting that pressure on yourself that every bite has to be about, the taste and the smell of the food. So no, you don't need to be mindful for every bite, but you do want to take the opportunity to check in every once in a while throughout the meal, as you're finishing up. And one thing that can be really helpful is to check in if you're still enjoying the food. When we start eating, usually that taste is going to be really intense. Our body's ready for the food. It's those first few bites. As we start to fill up, one of the cues our body gives us is that the food starts to lose its flavor a little bit. It doesn't taste quite as good. So this is one of those signs that we're getting close to feeling satisfied or full. So check in and notice, are you leading with your brain or with your body? Is it those thoughts and rules around food that are leading you to either continue eating or stop eating? Or are you able to listen to your body, what you're enjoying, what feels good for you? So no, you don't have to be mindful for every bite, but I would encourage you to try to check in throughout the meal as you're getting close to the end of the meal. And one sort of cue that can kind of help is to ask, does the food still taste good? So as we start a meal, generally the flavor of the food is more intense. Our body is primed and ready to eat. We're hungry. As we start to fill up or become satisfied, the flavor of the food actually decreases in intensity. It might not taste as good or as flavorful, and that's actually one of our body's cues letting us know that, okay, we're starting to get close to having enough. So checking in and grounding yourself throughout, what this allows us to do is connect to intention. And a lot of the things that we've talked about today, it really comes back to what is the intention behind these decisions. This can really be the difference between whether a habit or behavior is healthy or not healthy. Whether we're choosing to stop eating or continue eating, is the intention to stop eating because we think we shouldn't, or it's a bad food, or we've had enough? Or is it because we've enjoyed it, we're satisfied and we're done? Just as much as continuing to eat, is the intention there because you're never gonna have it again and you've gotta eat it while it's there? Or is the intention to have another bite because you're enjoying it, it tastes delicious, and you feel good about having more? So as you can see, either way, choosing not to eat more, choosing to have more bites, the intention behind it can really make the same behavior either a positive or negative experience for you. Tip number 5 is to continue with your regular exercise or movement. And again, this comes back to intention. During the holidays or anytime really when there are a lot of social events and eating opportunities, it can be tempting to look to exercise to earn your food or make up for what you ate the night before. This is not going to be a healthy, supportive approach to a good relationship with your food and your body. But when we change the perspective and we sort of strip away that negative self-talk, it kind of allows us again to look at how movement really makes us feel. And what you'll probably find is that your body wants to move, it energizes us. We know that exercise boosts those endorphins, those feel-good hormones. So during such a busy time of year where there can be a lot of stress, we're kind of running off our feet, exercise can actually be a great way to recharge us and re-energize us, to ground us and help us be more present during this busy time of year. So I'm gonna say it one more time. A lot of this comes back to intention. Why are you actually choosing to either engage in or restrict from a certain habit or food experience? Take a minute to pause and tune into what your body is actually telling you, whether that is listening a little bit more closely to your hunger and fullness cues, or actually giving yourself permission to enjoy the food and the company around you. Let your body lead and trust it. It's smarter than we give it credit for. And when we take the opportunity to get out of our heads and out of the shoulds and shouldn'ts and food rules and messages that we're bombarded with in the media, this is when our body actually has a chance to shine, and you get this opportunity to really transform your relationship with food and with your body. As I mentioned, I've created a checklist to go along with this video and help you put this all into practice. So if you click below the video, you'll find the link to download it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, give it a like and share it with someone you think would benefit. There's nothing I would love more than to help you guys really enjoy and go into this holiday season confidently. I'm going to be talking a lot more about mindfulness and how to carry this approach into the new year over on my Instagram. So feel free to hop over there and follow along if you want to continue the conversation. And before you jump off, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.